Good morning and welcome. It is Monday, early morning intuitive guidance. I'm Dr. Bonnie Nussbaum, here with some things for us to ponder today. And interestingly, I'm going to give you a little backstory on what led up to this because I think it is relevant to the unfolding of the whole thing. So we'll give it a minute here for people to hop on, and then we'll launch into this little tirade. So let's do some breathing. In through the nose, out through the mouth. I love that first breath. You can just feel everything begin to release. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Breathing and allowing. Allowing is going to be a part of our process today. Welcome to whomever just popped on. It's Beth. Good morning, Beth. You are the first one here. Glad you're here. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Good morning, Joe Neal. Welcome, welcome. I think you're going to be interested in today's stuff. And I'm not even going to call it a reading because it isn't a reading. And I'll explain that in a minute. Good morning, Nancy. Welcome. Welcome, Cindy. Everybody's starting to roll in. This is good. This is good. This is good. We're just breathing, just starting with the breath. Good morning, Carolyn. I was laying in bed breathing this morning and realizing how shallow my breath was. And I thought, I wonder what that's about. Good morning, Gwen. Glad you're here. So as I started doing my journaling this morning, it began to unfold what this is about. Good morning, Abigail. Welcome. My counter is still saying 3. Right, counter. You're a little off there. Catch up, catch up. So breath in, breath out. On this fine Monday, breathing in fully life. Releasing what no longer serves you. Good morning, Bobby. Glad you are here. Welcome. Looking forward to yoga this morning. Look at all the fun stuff flying past. This is awesome. So, let me tell you how we got to where we're at today. It started yesterday. Well, it's been ongoing for a while, but it crystallized yesterday when I heard a quote from Chip Conley. I'd gotten the newsletter, and he's the guy who had the Joie de Vie hotel chain in California, made a boatload of money off of that, sold it, then was brought on board by the young people who started Airbnb, and he was the wise elder there that took them to a much greater height. And then he founded MEA, which is Modern Elder Academy, and they just opened their second one. The first one is in Baja, on the Baja Peninsula, and the second one is in Santa Fe. And so this was an interview he did for, I can't remember the name of the series, but I think I will be watching more of them. It reminds me of TED Talks. It's people telling their story, and this one was about a half an hour long, but it went through many things in his life. And one of the things that he said was, you piss people off when you're a disruptor. And I thought, okay, that's what I am. I'm a disruptor. That's why all the questions I ask, all the points I make, all the steps I take tend to irritate people. And I've lamented that for many years. Why is it that why are they always killing the messenger? What's makes total sense now. Makes total sense now. Oh yes. Check them out, because the basic gist behind Modern Elder Academy is, he calls it a midlife wisdom school. And they have a lot of classes and stuff. Yes, a disruptor. Yes. Good morning, Mel. Glad you are here. So I'd love to go do this. And actually someone I was talking to yesterday said she'd be interested in going. So I think that would be cool. So when I get to the point where I sign up for that, because right now I'm paying for a trip to Iceland, but Good morning, Angie. Glad you're here. Welcome. Yes, and making people uncomfortable. That's one of the things that I'm processing. It explains your adult life. Oh, it explains my kid life too. Stuff would come out of my mouth. And I'm going to be all over the place because there's so much to say. I'm rereading Infiltrator. There we go. Isn't that interesting? Federal government job. And let's see what happens with all the federal government jobs. Interestingly, one of the things that dawned on me, again, it crystallized. It's been perking, but it crystallized this morning, was maybe part of the reason the election needed to go the way it went was because there needs to be this major disruption. And I believe it's going to be a major disruption. And it's too easy, and I'm saying this for myself as well, it's too easy for us to be complacent. Practical Rebels, what a perfect title for us. Too easy for us to be complacent when things are going along okay. But something else, I'm bringing this in, didn't even think I was going to bring this in, and I'll eventually get to my topic, which is embracing for change. But I read the most recent post in Substack by hang on, I see her face, Jess Piper. And she is a deep blue person in a sea of red in Missouri, and ran for office, and another federal employee. Don't worry, don't fret. Change sometimes is arduous and painful, but can get us where we're going to go. Maybe we got to blow the whole thing up to effect change. Jess Piper, she was talking about some of the, I'm going to try to find a word here, insidious issues within the Democratic Party. She's a staunch Democrat. However, she talks about the machine of the Democrats, and there's a machine for the Republicans, obviously. But what she was saying and felt like is now ripe for change is that when she ran for office, she couldn't afford to run this round, but when previously, I believe it was 2020, when she ran for office, she worked her tail off, working social media, boots on the ground, knocking on doors. That she's I am so bad with titles. Hang on, it'll come. Community organizer. And organizers are boots on the ground kind of people, right? So she worked her area and talked to people and raised a lot of money for her campaign. Was she ever going to win? No, but she ran on principle, and that her rule of thumb is that if this is the system we have, to be as healthy a system as possible, we need people running, and we need people not running unopposed. That doesn't really reflect what people want. A voter who only has one option can't really be discerning about who speaks to my values and who's in alignment with what I want and what I believe. So her thing is nobody running unopposed. So she ran. There wasn't a snowball's chance in hell in that deep red state that she was going to win, but she ran on principle. And she said she caught a whole lot of flack from the Democratic Party about you ought to concede and hand your money, your war chest, which there's that language again, over to someone who's on the cusp of maybe a Democrat winning in this deep red state. What an interesting mindset, right? What an interesting mindset. And how angry she was that people were putting it out there that she ought to capitulate in order to manipulate the system. So Going to my embracing the change. When we look at systems, and we have a lot of systems that aren't working very well, a lot of them, whether we're talking about healthcare, whether we're talking about education, whether we're talking about the financial system, regardless, there's inequities in the systems, there's things that aren't working. Do I wish we didn't have to blow up everything in order to create change? Yes, that would be less painful, right? But it would appear that we're heading that direction of needing to implode things to effect change. So let's reflect on that in terms of our own lives. How often do we get complacent and do we stay with something that isn't serving us, but we're comfortable enough that we don't want to upset the apple cart? So I will tell you, I stayed in my marriage 5 years too long because what I said on the surface was, because I made a commitment and I said I was in this for the long haul, blah, blah, blah. That was true, but it wasn't the only reason. Part of it was that, oh my God, who am I going to be if I let go of this 27-year relationship? I have 2 kids. I have a business to run. I have a huge house. How am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? So you pretend not to, and you go along. You go along to get along. Yep. And my question that I often ask clients, as kindly and lovingly as I can, because I know that once they answer, if they answer honestly, they can't go back. What are you pretending not to know? What are you pretending not to know? And if some of you are wanting to run screaming away from Facebook at the moment, I get it. I totally get it. But what happens is, and I'm reading The Mermaid Chair. I'm not sure how many of you have read it. It's Sue Monk Kidd. But the gist of it is a woman who's married to a neurologist, I believe. Nope, he's a psychiatrist. And going along to get along, living her life the way she thought she was supposed to, and then something comes along that she makes a choice to blow up her complacent life. Again, I wish we were braver. I wish I were braver. I'm in this position right now where there's something I'm doing that's, it's okay. It ain't great. I want to make way for great. So I need to let go of okay. And had a card reading with my friend Sarah, who she and I exchanged services. And the gist of that, I think I shared this before, maybe not. Rise up. Be ready for change. This is your spiritual awakening. Move on to create more fertile ground for ideas and collaboration. Face that it's time to walk away. It's time to move on. Something's got to die. Something's got to die in order for something to be born. And so, a couple of thoughts, lots of thoughts. I jotted some notes down because there's so much here. What's not working? And when we articulate what's not working, oftentimes we try to make it okay. Well, so I'll pick one from this particular thing that I'm dealing with for today. There are too many leaders, but nobody's leading, and nobody communicates, and decisions get made unilaterally that impact the whole, but they're made in isolation, and none of that is working. And to be the disruptor who calls it out, which I will tonight, to be the disruptor who calls it out is not going to go over well. People don't want to look at that stuff. But the more we don't look at it, the more we stay stuck in what doesn't work. So, a question one can ask oneself in these circumstances when faced with a change that, and then the thought that popped into my head was, okay, I'm bracing for change. I'm bracing for this meeting tonight and saying what I need to say. But that bracing thing felt a little weird, So then the word that popped up was embracing. Okay, how do I embrace this change? This change is what's supposed to happen. It's divinely orchestrated, divinely ordained, in my opinion. And some of you I know don't buy that. That's okay, that's cool. And then questioning, what does this look like to enact this embracing of change? What does it look like? Does it mean a complete cutting of ties? Does it mean we have to revamp what we're doing here? We have to make a different agreement? Does it mean holding people accountable for what they say they're going to do? We'll see what it means. And if it's what I wrote down was complete break or a renovation, a renovation of the relationship, a renovation of the process. And my question for myself, and then I would pose it to all of you, is how will I monitor if I'm reverting to my old ways? My old ways being, here, let me take the bulk of the responsibility for getting this thing across the finish line. Now perceiving, that is not a good way to go. That is not a good way to go. It's how I've conducted much of my life, but it is not a good way to go. Which is why I love the sociocratic stuff so much, which is why I love dynamic self-governance. Get all the people around the table. Give everybody their voice back. Everybody has an equal say in this process. Let me keep going, hang on. Monitoring for reverting to old ways. I'm 63. I've had 63 years of doing it this way. It's a variation of rescuer, yes. To me, rescuer is let me fix it for you. And this is let me do a bunch of the legwork. Let me be the, and this is military language again, who's the person they send out first, the one who reconnoiters everything and then comes back and report. It's more like that. But then feeling, justified or not, feeling like since I was the one who was out there reconnoitering, I was the one boots on the ground, that my words should have some import. There should be some value in what I'm telling you. Yes, the person who does the recon, yes. So it's not a leader per se, but it is a leadership role, right? It's also a cannon fodder role. Anywho, back to the point. If I decide I can stay involved in this thing, but how I'm involved must change, I need to be responsible to myself. Good morning, Sue. Glad you're here. For not allowing a reverting to the mean, okay? If this is how I've done it for 63 years and now I'm making a change, how do I maintain that change if I stay in that system? Because it's easy when the system, when there's someone in the system who stomps her little foot and says, just tell us what to do. No. That is not. You may hire someone else who will tell you what to do. Good morning, Cheryl. It's not going to be me. It's not going to be me. And again, how much of bracing change, bracing for change, look at your life. What have you, when you get to these forks in the road, there's our card again from the other day, the fork in the road. How much of it is Let me see if I can find the right words. Stacking the deck. Stacking the deck. Okay, you see on the horizon. So Jonelle, you're at year 9 in your overstaying your welcome in your marriage. You're at year 9. And you can see the writing on the wall. And you're pretending not to know maybe a little bit yet. And as you stand at that fork in the road, how do you really, truly be honest with yourself and honest with those around you and walk the path? And if you're willing to make some modifications, which by that point you're kind of like, done is done. But say in my own process, the 5 years that I stayed too long in my marriage, 2 years in, I'm sure somewhere in there was a fork in the road. And I said, I'm willing to stay, but these are the things that need to be different. How did I hold myself accountable to not revert to the old ways? To not slide back into what was familiar, comfortable, etc. Having done a $15,000 coaching program with Tony Robbins, I got one more event to go. One of the things I've gleaned from that and am taking with me is when we're in that position, the fork in the road, and there's keep doing what you're doing or innovate, being willing to, there was a fork, yes. Exactly. There was a fork, but it's interesting. Wouldn't it be interesting to have a conversation with a bunch of us who've done stuff like this and discern, when did the rubber finally hit the road? When was enough really, truly enough? I mean, it was enough all the way along, but when was enough really, truly enough? So like with this project, when will enough truly be enough that I say, okay, I bless you on your way. I'm now going this way. I think a huge piece of it is a tipping point. And that tipping point being, when am I willing to experience the uncertainty and the discomfort of the unknown path compared to the familiar path? Yeah, something tipped there. And you were willing to deal with the discomforts and the fears and the unknown, the uncertainty of taking that different path. I also liked the idea, embracing. I put a hyphen between there, bracing. Embracing. Imagine we lock arms and we walk ourselves through this stuff. We're having the perfect opportunity right now with all of what's going on politically. We can lock arms and walk through the dark night of the soul together. We can hold each other up well. We can choose not to say stupid shit like, I didn't vote for him. That's not helpful. That is not helpful. We can choose to see the humanity even when someone is behaving inhumanely. How do we see to the fear that's in that person that leads to that kind of inhumane behavior? How do we address that fear? How do we again lock arms and walk past the othering? No more othering. And will you hear it come out of my mouth here and there? Absolutely. Why? Because, again, and in the book, the Mermaid's Chair, one of the monks shares the story of the fish being in the water and not realizing they're even in the water. You're so steeped in it, you don't even realize it's there. Warlike language, that's one for us. Warlike language. And to kindly and lovingly, to gently point out when it comes up is so helpful. So, what are you pretending not to know? What would it take for you to be willing to feel the uncertainty, the fear, the doubt that it will require to take that new fork in the road? What do you care about enough that you're willing to piss people off to be that disruptor? Because with that disruption, practical rebels. Rebel implies disruptor, right? Where will you be willing to stir the pot? Again, kindly and lovingly. Wait a minute, this isn't okay. This isn't okay. And is that another one that's similar theme? And I'm going to make a call to action here. Don't wait too long. Don't wait too long. If I look back on those 5 years that I spent trying to salvage something that was DEAD, I don't want to lament the loss of time, but I certainly could have invested that time better. Here I am again. I certainly can invest my time better. What can you invest your time in better? And how can you build the support network you need to allow you to be ready, willing, and able to say, I leave the familiar path and I step onto this new path that's uncertain, but pregnant with potential, innovative, time for something new. What will you do that's something new? Hopefully this stirred up a whole lot of stuff. Again, some of you might be pissed off at me because I disrupted your la 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 la. But I feel like that's what I'm here to do. That's my, yes, that's my purpose for being here. To say, and there's someone in the book, it's an adult with a disability, but one of the things that she has, she's probably functioning like a 10-year-old. But one of the gifts that she has is this ability to discern what's going on. And so she will whisper in people's ears the thing that they don't want to hear. In this case, she whispers in the protagonist's ear, you're falling in love with a monk. And then the woman says, let's keep that a secret between us. And she says, I already told my mom. And the whole thing unravels. Anywho, what are you willing to do? What are you willing to call out as you pretending not to know it? What are you willing to face? What do you need in order to be willing to walk on the path? It is a great book. To walk on the path that's the road less traveled. The road less traveled. Have an awesome Monday. We'll see you again tomorrow. You're capable of far more than you think you are. Bye-bye.